AGHAMazing morning to you, grade 9 students. I am teacher Maui, joining you in another session of learning and discovery. Together we learn, together we discover. Before we start, don't forget to prepare your self-learning module number 3, a pencil or ball pen, and your science notebook. Be sure to jot down important notes that you will be learning throughout the session. Are you ready? Then let's start! This quarter 3, our focus has been on Earth science. Our first module discussed about weather and climate. But do you still remember what's the difference between the two? What is weather? And what is climate? Are they the same? Let's recall what we have learned in Module 1. I will be flashing statements on screen and I need you to tell me whether the statement describes climate or weather. After we read the statements out loud, you will answer with either climate or weather. Is that clear? Great! This is the first statement. It rained a few hours ago. Does this statement pertain to climate or weather? You are right. This statement describes weather. What about this statement? It's going to be a long winter season. Does this statement pertain to climate or weather? Great! This statement talks about climate. Now, let's have the third statement. A typhoon is expected to landfall tomorrow morning. Is it weather or climate? You are right. This statement describes weather. Let's have the last sentence. The Philippines' average temperature ranges from 21 degrees and 32 degrees. Does this statement pertain to climate or weather? That's right. This one refers to climate. Great job, everyone! Now, let us see the statements once again. Can you tell me the difference between the two? Correct! One side describes conditions that we experience every day, and the other side describes conditions that we experience over a long period of time. So which pertains to weather? And which pertains to climate? Very good! These statements pertain to weather and this side describes climate. Weather refers to day-to-day or short-term atmospheric conditions. So when we say it is sunny day or it is a cold day, we are describing weather. Other keywords to describe weather are forecast, today, yesterday, current, and daily. Climate, on the other hand, refers to atmospheric conditions experienced by an area over a long period of time. In the Philippines, we experience a dry climate from November to April and a wet climate from May to October. But there are times when dry climate will be longer or months of prolonged wet climate. Some keywords to distinguish climate are seasons, average, annual, and generally. But either way, weather is experienced in the short term and climate is experienced over long-term period. Now that we have recalled the difference between weather and climate, it is now time to take a trip to different places and explore the atmospheric conditions. My dear learners, have you realized that we are now just few months away from our most awaited school break? Have you thought about how and where would you like to spend your vacation? Would you rather spend it on a hot tropical beach or the icy cold mountain? Here is an activity that will help you choose your dream vacation place based on their climate condition. I will be flashing different popular vacation places and you will be sorting out the climate of these places into these categories: warm, temperate, and freezing. Write the name of the place on the correct box. You may write your answers in your notebooks. You will have 20 seconds to finish this activity. Are you ready? Let's start! to check our answers. What are the places that have warm climate? That's right, Indonesia, Dubai, and Maldives have warm climate. How about temperate climate? What places have you placed in this box? Perfect! Peru, France, and Japan are the places with temperate climate. And lastly, what countries have freezing climate? Correct! Greenland and Antarctica have freezing climate. Well done! That trip was fun. We have sorted some places according to their climate conditions. Have you ever thought why some places are colder and are warmer than others? For example, why does Antarctica experience freezing climate while Dubai has dry and hot climate? Or why do some places experience 4 seasons while others experience only 2? That, my dear learners, are what we're about to find out. Today, we will be discovering why different places experience different climates. There are 5 factors that influence the climate of a place. These are latitudes, altitudes, ocean currents, prevailing winds, and topography. But today, we will be focusing our attention to one factor, and that is latitude. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to define latitude, explain how latitude affects the climate of an area, and determine the climate conditions of the places within the different Earth's climate. There are 5 major lines of latitude, namely equator, Tropic of Cancer, Tropic of Capricorn, Arctic Circle, and Antarctic Circle. To better understand how latitudes can affect the climate of a place, let's perform this fun and exciting activity. Our activity is entitled When Sun Rays Strike. For this activity, we will be needing the following materials. Number 1, a flashlight, and 2, a globe. Are your materials ready? Wonderful! Let's start! First, place the globe on a flat surface. Now, take your flashlight and point its beam towards the globe about 1 foot apart. Hold the flashlight in a stationary position. This is a model of how sun rays strike the Earth. The globe represents the Earth and the flashlight represents the sun. Now, closely observe the distribution of light on the globe. Have you taken down your observations? Here are some guide questions to help you process the activity. Number 1. Do all parts of the globe receive the same or equal amount of light? Yes or no? Number 2. Which part of the globe receives more light? And number 3. Which part of the globe receives lesser light? You have 5 minutes to explore the model and answer the guide questions on your notebook. You may pause this video if you need more time in answering the questions. And we're back! I hope you enjoyed and learned a lot from our activity as much as I did. Now it's time to check our answers to the guide questions given. Let's go over our activity. Here, we made a model of how sun rays strike the Earth and we were tasked to answer the following questions. Number 1. Do all parts of the globe receive the same or equal amount of light? Yes or no? What is your answer? Terrific! The answer is no. Although the sun releases the same amount of sunlight, different parts of Earth's surface receive different amount of this. This is due to the Earth's tilt. The Earth's tilt causes the sun rays to strike the Earth's surface at different angles, creating variances in temperatures on Earth. Here is a picture of the concentration of sunlight received by different parts of the Earth. As you can see, sun strikes the mid part directly. This is because the angle of sun rays strike this area at 90 degrees, causing the sunlight to spread only on a small area. Thus, the concentration of sunlight is high on this part, while in the north and south poles, the rays strike at lower angles, causing the same amount of solar energy to be spread over a larger area. Now, we are ready to answer question number 2. Which part of the globe do you think receives more light? That is right. The middle part of the globe receives more light. It is where most sunlight and heat energy are concentrated, making this region of the Earth the hottest. This region lies on the equator, an imaginary line that divides the north from the south. Thus, it is called the equatorial region. All countries that lie along this region experience hotter climate. Question number 3. Which part of the globe receives lesser light? Perfect! The North and South poles receive lesser sunlight. These regions are called Arctic Circle in the north and Antarctic Circle in the south. All countries traversing these lines of latitude experience freezing climate. Did you get all the answers correctly? Wow, that's wonderful! Now, let's go over the things we've learned. The equator experiences the hottest climate, while the Arctic and Antarctic Circle experience freezing climate. But what about the countries in between the equators and the poles? What type of climate do they experience? The countries between experience temperate climate, not too hot and not too cold as the poles. These countries lie above the Tropic of Cancer and below the Tropic of Capricorn. To sum it up, as we go farther away from the equator, the cooler the climate gets. The closest we are to the equator, the hotter the climate is. To elaborate more on how latitude affects the climate, let's take a look at Earth's climate zones. The climate zones of the Earth are distinguished by the latitudes that run across Earth's surface. The region between the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn is known as the tropic zone. This is the hottest part as the sun's heat falls directly on this part during solstice and equinoxes. Can you identify some countries on this zone? That's right! Our very own country, the Philippines, lies on this region. With the direct sun's heat over our country and the amount of rainfall we have each year, we only get to experience 2 seasons, wet season and dry season. Next is the temperate zones, which fall between the Tropic of Cancer and Arctic Circle in the north, and between the Tropic of Capricorn and Antarctic Circle in the south. This is the perfect vacation zone, as it typically has mild temperatures and enjoy 4 seasons annually: summer, spring, autumn, and winter. This is because in these regions, the sun is never directly overhead. Some countries along these regions are Japan in the north and Peru in the south. The last of the zones experience extreme climate, and so it is called the frigid zone or the polar zone. It is the coldest part of the planet. These zones lie beyond the Arctic and Antarctic circles. These regions experience longer days and longer nights. Some places in these regions are Alaska in the north and Antarctica in the south. Trivia time! Did you know that Aristotle, the Greek philosopher, was the first one to come up with the idea of climate zones? More than 2,000 years ago, Aristotle hypothesized that the Earth was divided into 3 types of climatic zones, each based on distance from the equator: the frigid zone, the temperate zone, and the torrid zone. And he believed that human civilization could only flourish in the temperate zone. This theory was disputed in the subsequent research on climate zones. Now, it's time to show how much you have learned. I want you to prepare your ball pen and paper for this activity. You are going to determine whether the following statements about how latitudes affect climate is correct or not. Draw a star if the statement is true and a moon if the statement is false. Are you ready? Let's get started! Statement number 1. Places near the equator experience warmer climates. What do you think is the answer? That is right, it's a star. This is because the sun remains almost directly overhead every day. Good start! Statement number 2. The Philippines has warm climate because it lies on the temperate zone. Have you drawn a moon? If yes, then you are correct. The Philippines lie on the tropic zone and not on the temperate zone. Statement number 3. As you travel south from the equator towards the Antarctic Circle, the average temperature will likely decrease. Have you guessed it right? Terrific! Our answer is a star. As we move farther from the equator, the temperature drops. It gets colder and colder. Statement number 4. The tilt of the Earth's axis affects the amount of solar radiation a region receives. I hope you've drawn a star for this sentence because this is definitely true. The Earth's tilt causes the sun rays to strike the Earth's surface at different angles, creating variances in temperatures on Earth. We are down to our last sentence. Statement number 5. We experience 4 seasons in the polar zone. What is your answer? Great job for drawing a moon. This statement is erroneous. 4 seasons are experienced within the temperate regions and not on the polar regions. There you go, our dear learners. Congratulations on doing well in today's lesson. I know that you can now explain how latitudes affect the climate of a place. Before we end our lesson for today, I want you to study these photographs. These are 2 places with different climate conditions. However, these 2 places are also found in one country which lies near the equator, the Philippines. What do you think accounts for the difference in their climate condition? And the answer to that question, my dear learners, will be discussed in the next AGHAMazing episode. And there you have it, our dear learners. Today has been a great learning experience. I hope you have enjoyed and learned a lot from this discussion. Once again, this is your AGHAMazing buddy, Teacher Maui, and this is CITYHIGH TV. Together we learn, together we discover. Till our next episode, see you!